journeying into the illustrious world of ancient Egyptian mythology to examine Ra, the brilliant sun god, central to Egyptian religious life for millennia. Renowned as both creator and sustainer, Ra has a pivotal role in Egyptian cosmogony and daily life. Over the next few segments, I will be exploring his historical prominence, mythological origins, knightly struggle through the underworld, also known as the Duat, and the broader spiritual implications of his cyclical victory over chaos. And additionally, of course, I will consider how Ra's symbolism resonates with traditionalist and perennialist perspectives that emphasizes a universal, primordial tradition underlying all religions. I have always found ancient Egyptian mythology fascinating since I was in year 3 and we had a whole semester subject area on it. And I think this is something that a lot of people can resonate. I'm not too sure why, as a collective consciousness, we find, of all mythology, ancient Egypt one of the most fascinating ones. It's something that we're all so drawn to out of interest. Even if we don't pursue it, if we receive it, we just feel naturally inclined to give it a listen. And it's more than just the discovery of Tutankhamun, the whole civilization. There's just so much depth, knowledge, secrets to discover. And I think the best place to start is in mythology. By the 5th dynasty, which was around 2494 to 2345 BCE, Ra was venerated to such a degree that pharaohs styled themselves as sons of Ra, reinforcing a direct link to the sun god's divine authority. And as well as that, major solar temples devoted to Ra were constructed at sites like Heliopolis, known in Egyptian as Iunu, may have pronounced that wrong, meaning pillar or city of pillars. Pharaohs from various dynasties contributed to these complexes to affirm their loyalty to and descent from Ra. They essentially believed that they were descendants, and that was what carried on that royal blood from divinity. Frequently shown as a falcon-headed man, crowned by a solar disk encircled by a serpent, Uraeus. This serpent symbolized protection and sovereignty. Over centuries, Ra merged with local high gods like Amun of Thebes, if I pronounced that right, becoming Amun-Ra. He also appears in forms like Ra-Horakhti, Ra united with the Horus of the two horizons, reflecting how Egyptian religion was very fluid, integrative, and adaptable to political changes. This syncretism shows how ancient Egyptians viewed their deities in a flexible, often layered manner. No deity existed in isolation. Ra's prominence influenced most other cults, affirming him as the radiant nexus of divine power. In the Heliopolitan tradition, all existence began in the vast formless waters called Nu. Ra, often as Atum-Ra, emerged on the Benben stone, an act symbolizing the very first moment of structured reality emerging from chaos. Through an act of will or spoken word, Ra, or Atum, generated Shu, the air, and Tefnut, moisture. These in turn birthed Geb, or Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky, leading to the major pantheon including Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys. Very popular gods would have emerged from this creation or this birth. Ra's ability to create from nothing underscores his omnipotent status, almost like the unmoved mover. By setting boundaries between sky and earth, Ra established Ma'at, which is the cosmic order, ensuring that creation was structured and life could flourish. This could also be seen as the Tao. In these myths, Ra is not just a localized sun deity, but the foundational force that brings everything into being. His association with light ties him to the concept of illumination, order dispelling cosmic darkness. One of the most dramatic parts of Ra's mythology is his nightly odyssey through the Duat, the shadowy realm of the dead. The Duat is a hidden, liminal space where the diseased undergo purification, judgment, and, if worthy, rebirth. At sunset, Ra seems to vanish from our sky, but in Egyptian belief, he boards his evening bark and sails beneath the western horizon. This is no simple voyage, though, but rather it's a perilous series of encounters with spirits, guardians, and formidable cosmic threats that unfolds over 12 distinct hours of the night. Ancient texts like the Underworld, the Book of Gates, and the Book of the Dead, which is very famous, they guide us through these stages. As the first hour of night begins, Ra enters the western gate of the Duat. Fierce guardians recognize him and allow the bark to pass. Darkness encloses the solar god, but he is accompanied by deities charged with warding off evil. This sets the tone for the night. Ra brings light into the darkness, but only by facing relentless trials. Manjet is the morning boat, and it's used during the day as Ra traversed the sky from east to west. And Mesektet is the evening boat, and that was used at night for his journey beneath the horizon. This cyclical travel reaffirms the principle of death leading to rebirth. From the second to the fourth hour, the bark glides through cavernous waterways. Souls of the diseased, both blessed and condemned, dwell in these shadowy stretches. Here, Ra bestows light and warmth on the virtuous, those who have passed the moral and ritual tests embodied in spells from the Book of the Dead gain hope of joining him. Throughout these hours, guardians patrol each stretch of the Duat. They demand secret knowledge or names of power which Ra and his companions readily possess. The tension does build here, though, as deeper in the underworld lurks the ever-present threat of Apophis, the serpent of chaos. By the fifth and sixth hours, Ra approaches the core of the underworld, often depicted as a pivotal place where he unites with aspects of his own being, or merges with Osiris, symbolizing the convergence of death and rebirth again. Some ancient text, though, shows Ra in a moment of vulnerability here, briefly appearing as an aged figure or even a corpse-like form, signifying the sun's descent into darkness. And yet this union with Osiris, Lord of the Dead, ensures that new life will spring forth. Egyptians saw it as proof that from death, life is renewed, just as the sun inevitably returns each morning. And that is a wonderful concept to believe in. However, the seventh hour brings the most climactic battle. Apophis, or Apep, coils through the murky depths, determined to halt the solar bark. Apophis, the colossal serpent, seeks to swallow the sun and extinguish cosmic order. In some traditions, the god Set stands alongside Ra, wielding a spear against the chaos serpent. In others, it might be Bastet or other protectors who help vanquish this cosmic menace, this monster. If Apophis succeeded in swallowing the sun, creation itself would plunge into eternal night. Ancient Egyptians understood this moment as the razor's edge between existence and annihilation, reenacted nightly. Ra, aided by his guardian deities like Set, Bastet, or others depending on the local tradition, wages combat with Apophis. The successful defeat of Apophis each night ensures the sun's rebirth at dawn. Once Apophis is subdued, Ra sails on through successive gates. He rewards those who upheld Ma'at in life while punishing the unrighteous. Each new region is overseen by a gatekeeper or deity who demands knowledge of secret names or incantations. And of course, Ra meets these challenges with ease, for as the embodiment of cosmic order, his wisdom and authority prevail over every obstacle. This phase signifies a core Egyptian principle. Only by living in harmony with Ma'at, truth, justice, and balance, one can navigate the depths unscathed. At last, the 12th hour arrives. Ra's bark emerges near the eastern horizon, where the sun is reborn in a blaze of golden light. This triumphant exit from the Duat manifests each morning as daybreak. For the Egyptians, seeing the sun crest the horizon affirmed that Ra had once again won his battle against chaos, renewing the world and guaranteeing the continuation of life. This hour-by-hour progression gives us more than a mythical checklist. It's an allegory for life, death, and moral responsibility, but also the hope of rebirth. By watching Ra complete his journey night after night, Egyptians, they found assurance that the cosmic order was secure and that they too might transcend darkness if they followed the paths of virtue and sacred knowledge. As sons of Ra, pharaohs claimed a cosmic mandate, reinforcing both religious devotion to Ra and the centralization of royal power in Egyptian society. If anything, this was a very strong foundation of how Egyptian society worked, as well as the agricultural cycle, where Egyptians intimately linked the sun's movement with the rising and the receding of the Nile. Though the Nile flood had its own deities like Hapi, the sun's warmth was essential to crop growth and survival. Daily offerings as well and rituals to Ra included incense, water, and recitations to maintain that link between the divine realm and the earthly realm. Identified Ra with Horus, Ra Horakti, the falcon sky god. This god emphasized Ra's sovereignty over horizons, both earthly and celestial. It was the combination of both realms together. As well as Amun-Ra, synthesized the transcendent hidden aspect of Amun, the hidden one, with Ra's visible power, again, a paradoxical contrast fused together. In Thebes, Amun-Ra became the preeminent state god by the New Kingdom, which was around 1550 to 1070 BCE. The vital role of Ra in sustaining life underlined every social and religious institution. As I've mentioned before, it was the foundation. From temple rituals ensuring the cosmic balance to the pharaoh's claim to divine legitimacy, Ra's presence infused every dimension of Egyptian identity. It was the first cause, arguably. And of course, there are a lot of spiritual and symbolic significance from Ra, one being the cycle of renewal and resurrection. Each sunrise symbolized rebirth, a cycle of hope resonating with the broader Egyptian outlook on life, death, and the afterlife. It was a daily reminder for them. As well as moral and cosmic order, Egyptians recognized that good moral conduct upheld Ma'at. It aligned human life with Ra's unceasing battle against chaos. There were also astral and celestial observations, so astronomical alignments, so solar alignments in temple designs. For example, Abu Simbal's works highlighted Ra's cosmic significance. Temples would be oriented to catch the first rays of sunrise on certain days, as well as astrological symbolism. Beyond daily worship, the cyclical patterns of stars and planets were often woven into the overarching concept of cosmic harmony that Ra maintained. Personal and communal devotion were included in this plethora of significance from Ra. It was also involving funerary practices. From the Old Kingdom Pyramid text to New Kingdom Book of the Dead spells, individuals sought to be justified before Ra and the divine tribunal, reflecting personal piety and communal beliefs in the afterlife, as well as the ethical dimension, where these acts of piety, offerings, prayers, were not just for the sake of it being ritualistic, but deeply, deeply ethical, because it bore the responsibility of maintaining the Ma'at, so Ra's light might continue to flourish. For ancient Egyptians, the sun rising each day was not taken for granted. It was the remanifestation of cosmic justice and the reward for vigilance against chaos, a message as timeless as dawn itself. Ra's story is the quintessential example of how the ancient Egyptians saw their world. He is not just a sun god, but the very principle of life, order, and renewal, ruling the skies by day and confronting the forces of chaos by night. His triumph reaffirms the universe's stability and humankind's place within a grand cosmic tapestry. Understanding Ra's place in Egyptian mythology, his creation myths, his nightly battle, and even his daily rebirth, it helps us gain that insight, a deeper insight into how ancient people reconciled life's struggles with the abiding hope of renewal. It is a cycle that resonates with many spiritual traditions, the notion that darkness always precedes a new dawn. And for those that are familiar with a little practice that I do myself, which is the Stoics' memento mori, where remembering that you will die each day, to not take it for granted, but then know that when you start a new day, it's a new life. And so we can already see through that example itself, the timeless tradition passing through even to Western's Stoicism. A traditionalist and perennialist perspective. In the traditionalist/perennialist school of thought, associated with figures like René Guénon, Frithjof Schuon, and Ananda K. Kumaraswamy, all authentic religious traditions are understood to stem from a single transcendent truth. That is more or less the basis of what this channel stems from in my lectures. But despite these cultural variations, these traditions share that core symbolic structures that reflect universal metaphysical realities. three concepts I would like to introduce. One is the solar symbolism as a universal principle, light as metaphor for the divine. Across multiple traditions, Hinduism, Surya, Greek, Apollo, Helios, Zoroastrianism, the worship of Ahura Mazda with a solar dimension, and Christianity with Christ being the light of the world. The sun in Egyptian mythology symbolizes that supreme reality that dispels ignorance and chaos. As well as the center of existence, traditionalist thinkers see the sun as not just a celestial body, but a reflection of the One, the central pivot of existence. Ra, in this lens, is the Egyptian manifestation of that solar principle which brings forth life and order. Next, we have the themes of death and rebirth, the cycle of them. That eternal return, the daily death of Ra in the West and rebirth in the East, parallels the spiritual journey of the soul in many traditions, moving through darkness, ignorance, or sin, to illumination, which can be seen as knowledge or salvation. But there's this very important emphasis on maintaining that cosmic order. The concept of Ma'at resonates with perennial wisdom's emphasis on the primordial tradition, where moral integrity aligns humanity with cosmic law. Last but not least, reflection on universal archetypes. The serpent of chaos, Apophis, representing chaos, finds parallels in other traditions as well. For example, the dragon or serpent adversary in multiple mythologies. The perennial message is the need for alignment with the divine light to conquer internal and external forces of disorder. Syncretism and unity. Just as Ra merges with other deities such as Amun-Ra and Ra-Horakhti, perennialists stress the unity behind the different names and forms of God or the divine across civilizations. From the perennialist viewpoint, Ra's mythic narrative is a universal allegory, the supreme source emerging from the unmanifested potential, imbuing creation with life and perpetually battling chaos to ensure renewal. Through each culture's symbols, we glimpse aspects of that singular divine reality. Recognizing this helps foster that understanding and respect for the world's varied spiritual paths, all rooted in a primordial quest for truth and harmony. To me, I always thought that mythologies from around the world, they were just more than stories to extract wisdom from. There were some metaphysical truths behind it, and a lot we can discover and pull out that timeless wisdom out, but in a way that we can actually apply it in our lives and collate them all together to find that one denominator, or as closest to that one denominator, which is the primordial reality. Incredibly fascinating, and I think there's so much we can explore from ancient mythology, especially ancient Egyptian mythology. And so if you are interested, please do stay tuned for the playlist that I will hopefully be working on, where I will be talking more about this and the way the ancient Egyptians were living their lives, etc., and see what we can learn from that with that subtle influence from the traditionalist and perennialist schools of thought. I hope you found this lecture interesting. And with that, I would like to end it with my disclaimer that I am by no means claiming to be knowledgeable in everything, except that I am in the humble pursuit of wisdom. Thank you so much for watching.